Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marcia Metzger with Parents on the Level, and I am so excited to be with you today for this live webinar exposing Edgenuity. Today, as we do Edgenuity, we're going to look at two pieces within it. One is an SEL program. The other is also a health program that I had done pretty much simultaneously during the pandemic. So anyway, you'll notice on this graphic, I was explaining to some of the early birds on the session that I have on here, bring back textbooks. Next month, I will be exposing Newzella. Newzella is another company that is kind of like an SEL company, but it's got a twist on it, and you are going to want to know about it. A lot of Zuckerbucks are in it. But anyway, bring back textbooks. These digital platforms are trying to take over every textbook. And so I want you to be aware of their plans in regard to that. And I mean, we all knew it anyway, because during the pandemic, it put everyone digital. So the thing is, it's the bait and switch tactics. It's the constant updates and the changing, and it's just hard to keep up with. So we need a lot of people that will be involved in getting legislators' attention with this. And the legislators need to be watching these videos. They need to learn this information. So this is why we do what we do. We're exposing it. We're giving them the proof. Because if you don't give them the proof, and if you want to make a snippet from these, or show them a link that I've given, whatever you think will work, get the information out. I've done the work for you in a lot of this. So just that is the main thrust of why we do what we do. Now, another thing I want to say to you is the reason my company's name is Parents on the Level. Well, one thing, it's with proof, it's truth. You know, I'm going to level with you with truth, but it's also on the level, at the level. We have to do this work grassroots, and there's not an easy way. It is open record, or if you're a parent, you should be able to get access to your children's information without open records. But in some states, I guess you might have to. But this is a grassroots level effort, because every school district runs differently, every state runs differently. So you will have the information, and publishers just checking into what they're doing, you will know how to go in there and gain access. And then you'll also have Diane and me both to, email and ask us what we know about just tactics that they're using that we can help you with as they change and we learn more. So anyway, all of these episodes of these are kept at parentsonthelevel.com, SEL-exposed, okay? So what I want to do with this is also show you, hang on just a second. This is my website. And this is the tab that you would go to. Now, today's form will be like the first session that we did with Second Step. There's a PDF download right beside it that you can use, that you can print it out, or you can forward it by email to your legislator, to your school board members, or whatever, and just say, you need to find out about this, because what's happening to your school board members is, I couldn't believe this past summer, right when school was about to get back in session, I had school board members calling me saying, Marcia, do you know anything about this company or this company or this company? Because it's huge. And it's the same day that they want them to sign off to approve to purchase it, like an omnibus bill. That's what these administrators do in a lot of these districts. So that's information that you can use in order to go ahead and upfront ask your school board members these questions. Have lunch with them, meet with them, call them, talk with them, and send them these PDFs like this, and just say, if I can get the access codes for what's going on in our school, these folks here can also help us look through it, because I could probably direct you to it on a personal Zoom call, where you can fill out one of these forms and be one of our guests on here. So who knows? This is like all of us coming together. It would be a great thing. I'd love to interview someone that has done a deep dive on one of these systems themselves. And it's not always just SEL standalone systems, as we've also learned. These can be integrated into English language arts systems. That's why I want to touch on Newzella, because that's what that is next month. So we're going to do a whole lot of different dives on different systems, so you will understand how big this is, how prominent it is in these schools. So you will know how to back up and just look at it, and know that you can always email and ask questions or give us a call. I can't always get to everybody's calls. I get a lot of calls every day, but if you leave me a message or text, this is my cell phone on here. Just text and we'll do the best we can do. So without further ado, let's get on to Edgenuity because there is a great deal of information to cover. So this is the same kind of form that we went through and worked through for the second step program. And we just zipped through there. And so also the last 3 months, what we did was we exposed the foundations of CASEL because all of these companies align with the CASEL 5 competencies and their rating system. So that is why we wanted to go ahead and do that expose for the last 3 months. It took that to do that on CASEL. So now we're back to the format of a form that you can download and use, like I just showed you on my website, so you can print it out with all of these links. So without going back over what SEL is and everything, if you don't know what that is, you can read this and you can go on the CASEL doctrine the last 3 months and learn that part. I want to get straight to the meat of this company today. So, and if you have questions, like I said, later on, we can always talk. Now, Imagine Learning they they have taken on through acquisitions several companies, as you see here. So Imagine Learning actually is the parent company now of Edgenuity. And when the pandemic was here in 2020, I had moved to South Georgia at the time, and I was working with a pregnancy center there, and they had a skyrocket on their pregnancies, teen pregnancies. So the pregnancy center director had asked me, because that's what I did. I went in and taught abstinence education in schools. And they asked me to come alongside of them and help and go to the school there. I went to Tift County, Georgia, went to their school system. And that's when I learned about social and emotional learning, when they told me that they were using social and emotional learning for sex education. I learned a lot about everything they did about it was breaking laws in Georgia. They didn't have a health advisory committee, all of these different things that they needed to gain the proper approvals and everything for getting that to deliver sex education in the state of Georgia. And so I learned all kinds of things about that. But it was just the weirdest thing for me because I had been teaching sex education and never had anyone ever breathed a word about social and emotional learning, or SEL, to me in my life. So this was the first company I cut my teeth on. I did an open record request on getting access to this, and I had to keep going back over and over and over again. Once I finally did get access, I had to sit through 84 lessons in order to chronologically unlock the system that had to do with LGBTQ and with anti-racism and sexuality information. It was strategically put there to where parents couldn't get to it. What parent can go during a work day and sit through that system? So we went toe to toe, and the system, actually, I had a great success with this. When I did finally get that and showed it to their assistant superintendent, they pulled this program that year. Now, it was the following year they bought Second Steps, though. So they didn't learn their lesson, and I had to go back and show them how rotten that one was, too. So these schools want this because they want the federal money that's attached to it. That's their pusher, end of story. So without going any further on that, that's how it all was established in conservative Bible Belt, South Georgia. If it's there, it's everywhere, I assure you. So on our last, when we did this form last time with Second Steps was what they called in the CASEL rating system a select company. You can learn about the rating system here. What I find very interesting about Imagine Purpose, which formerly was called Purpose Prep when I went through it, they have no rating with CASEL at all. They're doing it on their own, and they're not subjecting themselves to CASEL. Now, they'll say that they are aligned with the 5 competencies and things like that, but they did not submit their work to that company for a rating, evidently. So today, though, like I said, we're going to do SEL and the health portion. Now, there are Imagine Learning and Edgenuity, they had two different classes that they would offer to schools for their health classes. And one of them was a more conservative approach, which would align itself with abstinence. And the other one would align itself more with a comprehensive sexuality education, which you can learn about at stopcse.org. So anyway, I also did open record work on another school district in this area, Colquitt County, Georgia. They had the more comprehensive sexuality education health platform in their school system. And I had spoken with their health advisory committee on an actual standalone sex education program called Choosing the Best that they adopted. Had they known at the time that they were teaching this sex education program in their health system, that group of people would have been furious. So this is what we're looking at in the schools. These digital systems have a stealthy way of delivering this material no matter what. And if I hadn't gone in there and looked at it, we would have never known, because people just aren't really doing that deep dive. You know, is this a heavy subject? Is this hard work to do? Absolutely, it is. Are our children worth it? Absolutely, they're worth it. When you can walk into a board meeting, or you can deliver a document that has absolute proof of viral videos, you've got a lot right there in your hot little hand. If you go to Twitter, or if you go to social media, if you go to your newspapers and you show them these things, that's your leverage that you need in your locale. That's, you go to that hometown newspaper, you go to that reporter there and you show them these things, and it will help you tremendously. All right, so Weld North is also the conglomerate company that owns Imagine Learning. So you've got another layer here. So WeldNorth.com owns Imagine Learning, and Imagine Learning and Weld North have all of these acquisitions that you see here. And Weld North, there's so many connections. Guys, I could have studied this for another month and doubled my pages. I have 20 pages of documentations here for your use that there's no way I can go over every detail about during this phone call. The integrity of all of these companies, to me, is questionable. Every single one, anyone that will deliver DEI and work that you know is going to bring about any kind of influence for transgenderism, that to me, that's just problematic, and that just speaks of ill intent on behalf of these companies. When you look through all of these different links and everything for yourself, you'll understand a lot more about what I'm talking about. I found the diversity, equity, and inclusion aspects that this company is promoting and is sharing with their employees and teaching teachers. They will have live webinars. If you want to go in and learn about this gentleman here who has taught about how educators are the sleeping giant in this society, and he thinks it's time that we reclaim that power, that we treat it with respect and dignity, and that we try to be more intentional about how we utilize that power. He is talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you can read all about him. And you can see this is one of the books that he's written. I'm just giving you the table of contents on it. Every bit of this, speaking about this concept and this nuance of universal design on how to teach parents and teach teachers and anyone else that they can gain access to try to convince them that this is good for our society. So when you are looking at this particular gentleman and you read about all of the information that he puts out as the Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer for Novak Education, and see how he brings himself to partner with this company to teach this, I think that would be really problematic for most people. Now, I want you to look at the last sentence of this particular clip that I got here. he says, well, he talks about, let's just read the paragraph. Mirko continued, I love framing it that way because I think one of the hardest things wrestling with this framework conceptually is understanding that it, DEI and all, communicates the role of the educator is different than what is traditionally perceived to be. It's not just about casting a net with the hopes that you'll catch some of your learners, but rather having this expectation that all of your learners will have the potential to become expert learners. Now, watch this closely. And if they're not there, it's not because there's something the matter with them. It's because some things are in the way and we need to remove those barriers in order to support them. So this design for learning, remember this is SEL. Remember that we have the 5 competencies that literally it is transformational social and emotional learning. That last sentence, could your worldview be the thing that's in the way of these people and what they're teaching? Quite possibly so. Read and dig into the influence that this gentleman has on these programs, on these teachers, on these systems. This is something that's very important for us to look at. Company officers and where they were educated. Guys, there's some common trends that I see with a lot of these SEL programs, and those common trends are where they're educated. Columbia University, the Teachers College, and the business school. Anywhere in Columbia University, I'm seeing a lot of connectivity with that. Also, with the Indiana University or the University of Chicago, a lot of these places have a lot of these concepts embedded into their past, into the history of these schools, and you need to understand where they're coming from. The Indiana University, of course, is associated with Kinsey, Alfred Kinsey, who was the perverted sex education. He has the Institute for Sex Education there at the school. So there's a lot of, there's just things to take into account. Actually, I think this one lady that's involved as one of the leaders too, she was educated at Indiana University as well. So now this is very interesting. Jonathan Grayer is the big dog here at Imagine Learning and at Weld North. So he is so instrumental, and you just have to read all this because I don't want to take time about a person as much as I want to take time as showing you some of the things that we've found in this company. But this man is I got the feeling that he's a lot like a Linda Darling Hammond, except on the money-making drive that he knows about and has learned about. This man was so effective in international education efforts that he took this company, Kaplan, and I think he ended up taking it from $80 million in 94, and it increased to $2.3 billion by 2008. So to say that this man is a moneymaker and a deal maker, yeah, he is. So you see why he's so successful at acquisition. And there's a lot of information out there about how upset parents were during the pandemic about Edgenuity because it grew so quickly that they couldn't service it properly. There was some underhanded things that were found between gaining access and gaining contracts and things like that too that you can read about. I have all that listed in the finance section, but there's just tons of information about him. He is a frequent speaker, it says here, on education reform, also on investing and innovation, and his global connections and experience influence digital learning tremendously. So he's a powerhouse with this. Now his vice chairman, Sari Factor, I don't know if I said her first name right, but anyway, the chief, and she's also a chief strategy officer. Guys, you will see in your school district that they will call a lot of the people in the district administration. I showed you how bloated district administration levels are now in schools. You will see them called chief strategy officer many times, and those are people that are looking to capitalize with the DEI efforts and everything. So read the article about her. She's got her pronouns listed on her LinkedIn, all of it. They're all down for all of the woke stuff. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account and you want to research stuff like this, you need to get one. You can get the free account. That's what I've got. But it gives you a lot of access to where these people are, where they're educated, what their work experience is, and things like that. And it gives you a better picture of what you're looking at. So now, number 3, digital library access within the program. One of these videos does promote Ibram X. Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist and Everything, which is a restricted book that the library wants to call a banned book. If you go to the American Library Association 100 top, when they call them banned books, which you can't even buy the book if it's banned, people. So it's restricted. But if you go there to that particular list, you'll see stamped is another book that kind of correlates with How to Be an Anti-Racist. And it's an influential book in the school system. Now, normally library access is coming in through ELA programs more so than an SEL program. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to dive into Newsela next month. And I also want to, in the future, I'll be doing some work. I'm already working on another company ELA program, and maybe we can get Edgenuity's ELA program to add to this particular expose as well. All of these links right here, number 4, all of these links. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, back up real quick to the library thing. So guys, don't just be looking for physical books in libraries. You need to look at the digital offerings too, through EBSCO is one system. You also need to look through Destiny. And then also you need to find out what ELA program, English Language Arts program they have that's digital, because they can come in through there because they can make money on that, and they will. That's what these publishers want to do. There's tons of money in this. All right, finance information. Speaking of money, this is the one thing that we could do a separate PDF on, quite frankly, and it involve like lawsuits and things like that too, to show, what the company's about, because following the money is huge. I mean, I can go in and dive in and get the lessons, which takes me forever. But then when I am doing the other things like looking at, I had somebody going out the door. Sorry. When I look at, I lost my train of thought. Forgive me. What did you catch that, Diane? I'll go back on finance information. Let me just start from the start. Oh, we could do a separate PDF file. Forgive me. Y'all just had someone leave at the door. Finance information and how they're spending their money, how they're making these acquisitions of other companies, all of that will teach us a lot, as well as going in and looking at actual lessons. Personally, for me, I'm looking at how are they connecting with the worldview of the family? How are they trying to undermine the worldview of the family through the lessons themselves? That's the part that I want to stay laser focused on. That's what my company is about, is where worldview meets education. So if anyone else is loves to look up this kind of thing, likes to investigate, or they have access to market research, boy, I'd love to talk with you. So anyway, that's what I'm getting at. All of these particular links that are here have information for you to go through, and you won't believe some of the information and just the amount of money, just from what I could find just from Googling. Also, there's ethics violations that they had filed against them with Los Angeles, California. And Los Angeles, California, they're all down for this stuff. And if they're going to call out a company for having ethics violations, that's a big red flag for me, because they're a lot more permissive about all this stuff than the average state. So there you go. All right, next, promotion of global citizenship. I didn't notice that huge flavor in their actual classes as much as I did in second steps, but it's coming. I feel it's coming on. It'll be coming on strong. Jonathan Grayer, he is known for bringing Kaplan into the global arena and expanding it. And so I believe that that's just a matter of time that more of that will come out with this particular company too. All right, non-academic framework. All right, now we're getting into the meat of what I do. Lessons and what's been identified. Let's see, we've got my time here. SEL it's all about non-academic framework for the most part if you're looking at a standalone system, which Purpose Prep, or now it's called Imagine Purpose, is. It's a standalone program. And the particular information I got most of these videos from is in their section called Climate and Cultural Transformation. I have a treasure trove of these on my Rumble channel, Parents on the Level, all together. If you go to rumble.com and just type in the channel, Parents on the Level with no spaces, you can see every one of them. But then also I have the links here. So every one of these links. I have shown some of these links on my past webinars, so I don't really want to show them over again. You can see them in the Castle presentations, but I can identify different things on this particular form of what's happening with each of these levels, because like, are they undermining parents? Yes. Are they overriding your religious values? Yes. It's all throughout these videos, and several of these videos will, I can identify these violations, these harmful elements. Like I can identify like maybe 5 of them in one video. So I could cross-reference it all day. So anyway, that's what I was wanting to let you know. Let's just read this particular graphic here. It says, in today's environment where students have been dislocated from their schools and teachers in the midst of a global pandemic and urgent societal questions of diversity and inclusion, social and emotional learning has never been more essential. Now, I didn't notice kids lined up asking questions like that after the after the pandemic. They've created this to just have something to come in and stand on, and we know that. Let's read this other part. I've put the link here, but it says the Purpose Prep curriculum focuses on personal character and leadership development, as well as the development of healthy social and emotional skills, mental health and wellness, and readiness for life beyond school. The organization aims to transform, there's that word, transform students and teachers worldwide, there is your global effort, through an evidence-based and relevant SEL curriculum, offering 1,000 plus hours of SEL content, 600 plus engaging instructional videos, and 60 plus topical intervention modules. Folks, when I got the access codes and I went into this system, I got completely overwhelmed. Completely. Look at how many hours, 1,000 plus hours. What parent can do that? And why do they have that many hours? Well, that's a good question. And the reason why is because these lessons are personally customized through interventions by, again, these counselors. So now you get these teachers and these administrators saying, we're not teaching that stuff. They kind of have a little bit of a truthful response there. They might not be teaching it, but they're intervening with it. They're delivering that as they get the questions answered, every day is a survey with SEL. As those questions are being answered and those counselors are gaining access to that data, they know exactly what lessons to assign next if an algorithm isn't doing it in the first place for them, because there's only so many counselors per student. So I'm sure there's some algorithm work going on with it as well. Folks, that is massive. So this is why today, instead of, just saying, here is your method on how to take this out of your school and claim a success, or here is how you do this step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't work like that, folks. This is something that we have to show these legislators, and I mean, this is stuff you are going to have to go with the leaders of your community, go to your mayor, go to your DA, go to people with this indoctrinating information until we get somewhere with it. Because if the board members aren't going to do anything, get them out, primary them, get them out. All of this, it's going to take gatekeeping. Your pastors in your area, show them this is coming against the worldview. We can't just sit and absorb videos and webinars. We have to take this information and utilize it. We have to share it, share it, share it. So that's where we're going, why we're doing this repository of exposés. All right, so I mean, I'm just asking the obvious question here next. In what world do parents think that this is a good idea? I don't think there's any parents, if they saw that and they knew of what was going on with, I mean, yesterday was Transgender Day of Visibility. I mean, we know that this is a thing in our culture, and this is how these kids are getting this. Now, we're going to go a little bit further here. We're going to add some Edgenuity health curriculum to this. And while they do a great job producing lessons about reproduction, they've got some pretty good, decent, I would say that it medically, some of it was accurate, some of it was very misleading. But let's just look at, what other kind of things might they be taking on? This right here should get your lawmakers' attention. Adolescent development. Which statements, let me just zoom in so y'all can see this better. Which statements best describe your romantic attraction toward others? Check any that apply. What business does any school have asking a kid that? Folks, this is why I'm just sitting here looking at what I just had for you here, up here. 1,000+ hours of SEL content, and I find this little thing in one of them. This is why these things need to be gone through. Do you understand too that, we talked a lot about data. I showed you, if you watched any of my Castle exposés, about interoperability and how Project Unicorn, Bill Gates's company, how they take it into a global system where it just goes up in the cloud. Who knows who's accessing it? Who knows if it isn't social media sending kids these same kind of interventions, so to speak, to their algorithm on their Insta or their Snap or TikTok. Who knows? Folks, if it's going in a global network, we don't know where it's going. We don't know who all's accessing it. Look up how many data breaches there are. I covered that on my last webinar. This is something that you have to understand, that when they ask questions like this, it makes you think, golly, why would you want to know that? That's just too crazy. Here's the other things. When I went through Purpose Prep and I went through Edgenuity, and I looked, like I said, and I looked at the health programs, this was, how many of you know what they use dental dams for? I mean, let's just talk about this for a minute. As a sex educator, I happen to know, because I've done some undercover work where I've gone and learned these lessons from other, that were pretty much put out by Planned Parenthood and ETR. That's another story I can talk about another time. But what a dental dam is, it's a piece of latex that they're teaching kids to lay it across another child's vagina if they're going to have oral sex with them, to prevent them from getting HPV, which it's ridiculous. Folks, this is what I found in South Georgia. This was in, I think, Colquitt County, Georgia. This is why we need to go through these companies' materials. This is why. And the thing is, HPV and herpes, they're skin to skin. And if you're handling a dental dam without gloves and you've not touched the person yet, I mean, there's no way to keep that sanitary. Even if they use a dental dam, they've exposed themselves. So it's just crazy. So enough of that, as you can well imagine. All right. So a lot of reading to do, lots. This one is packed, y'all. We have therapy lessons and interventions. Folks, that is what these are designed to do. Based on the data, it triggers a response from the counselors. American School Counselor Association, I did an open record on Tift County Schools and asked them how many ASCA members they had, and they have 4. And one of them, I'm pretty sure, is the curriculum director that I spoke with, who told me he was using SEL for sex education. So if that tells you anything. And one of the things he told me, we wanted to use that because we're going to follow the data because we're trying to keep kids alive. And I've not seen major news stories of bunches of kids committing suicide in Tift County, Georgia. I mean, they've probably had an average of one or two, which is too many. I get it, but it doesn't mean you need to make the whole school system, school district, a mental health therapy education center. It's crazy. So that's a great way to start to find out what is in your school district. Do an open record. Ask them how many American School Counselor Association members they have. And let me just remind you, you can go to rumble.com and look up American School Counselor Association. Look at those videos. That's an expose on them that I did not do, but a very brave man went in there and just video recorded. And now they firewall their summer conventions because they don't want people knowing what they're doing. Isn't that transparent? Don't we want to put our minds, the minds of our children in the hands of these kinds of people? It's unbelievable what all I found on them. And you can go to their Twitter accounts and just look up hashtags, ASCA tweets. I think it's ASCA tweets. Look that up and you can find out how much in favor of transgenderism they are. This, to me, is one of the main connections in our schools. That's why you need this parental notification plan on file. It won't do a complete protection, but it will help you in a court of law if your child is, compromised in that way. So I have all that information there for you to look at. There's so much. Okay, now here's the story I wanted to tell you too, and I know we're a little bit halfway through and we do have a few questions. Can it wait till the end or can I keep going, Diane?
Keep going, Marcia. I'll take care of your questions at the end.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so copyright information. Folks, these schools are going to throw everything they can at you to keep you from gaining access. So with this particular company, I was alerted it was, in 2020, first they tried to give me their health standards and I'm like, that's not the lessons. And then they tried to give me this excuse of I couldn't see anything because of their FERPA laws. I couldn't get access to their computer program. And I'm like, I don't want to see the answers the kids have done in their own accounts. I want to see a blank account. Just pretend I'm a student and give me a test account. And they finally did that, but I had to go back and back and back. And really, I had to get pretty forceful to get it. So be willing to do that if you're going to work this. So anyway, FERPA laws are kind of like HIPAA laws, and you can read about that. They'll try to use that and just say, no, that's not going to wash, and read your education laws in your state, because I knew by open record, I can get access. I'm a taxpayer paying for this stuff. I need to know who's going to lead me in the future and what's influencing their brain to lead my particular county. So all of this we have rights to as citizens. But then they'll cash in copyright, that you can't get a picture of their work. You can't do any of this stuff. And that is not true. It's the same thing if I walked in and wanted to look at a book. We've always been able to do that. Just because it's digital doesn't mean that they can keep it. And yes, you can get and request copies of it so you can use it to take it to either your attorney if you're a parent and your child's been compromised, or you can use it to take to your legislator in hopes they might do something about it, which not many of them do. But we were trying and we're putting the heat on them. All right, so when they do that, just push back. Keep pushing back, and you might even need to get an attorney to write a demand letter, and hopefully your attorney will do it for free. Most of mine have. All right, critical theory elements are all through Edgenuity. They are all through this imagined purpose, and I have all kind of videos for you to watch. So there's all your links there. Their privacy policy, when they talk about kids having rights, many times that is because they are cashing in on the fact that they have sexual rights. And if they don't teach about sexual rights, then they can't teach about DEI and inclusion. So that's part of what they're talking about here. So they'll come in the name of being safe and going with, all of that for your child. Once you listen to those American School Counselor Association videos on Rumble, you'll understand a lot more about why they're talking about that when they talk about rights on their privacy policy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Another thing, if you'll look at this Edgenuity Help movie link that I have listed here on the left, this particular teacher is telling these kids that they have the right to have sex whenever they want to and not to let anybody else tell them any different. Watch that video and you'll understand. That's in their contemporary health module. All right. I've already told you about Project Unicorn, taking the data into the global networks. That's something you can read about. This rubric, if they are classified at a level 4, you can go and read that rubric on their website. The second your kid hits enter, it's in the global network. You know, what can people do with data? If they can do good things with it, they can also do nefarious things with it. We're in a structure now where when the kids put their data out there, there's no telling who's getting that data, even if they say people aren't. We're in a place now that I just, this is the heart and mind of your child. And if they have one of these phones, they've got a computer pretty much right there at their fingertips. And if that phone is synced with their laptop, their Chromebook, there's no telling what can happen with it there either. So folks, that data is being taken up in the cloud and there's no telling what can happen. Here was another lesson. This was in the sex education part. And you see, the digital programming is delivering sex education, not through the normal channels. It's delivering it without the parents even knowing this is happening in most places. They're teaching kids consent. Now, I'm going to draw attention to something, and I may have touched on this in one of my former videos with you, but it bears looking at once again. We're teaching our society across the board that you can conjure up something from a sexual encounter 30 or 40 years ago in America and say that I was raped or whatever, and cause and wreak havoc for anybody you want. That's what we're teaching our kids. I mean, look at not just Trump, look at Kavanaugh. It happened with him as well. Folks, when we teach consent to students in school, and you're just teaching them like you've got the green light if they're into it, if they're into you or whatever, if you're teaching that, you're not teaching them about age of consent. You're not teaching them of what negates consent, which would be if they've had a sip of alcohol, they can't give consent. If they've I mean, there's so many things that legal issues with this. So this is completely irresponsible for any company to even take on in this day and age. So all of these screenshots about this particular company, I have just loaded them here for you. You need to notice so many of the scenarios are promoting homosexuality and just normalizing that. So you need to look into that. And again, that's that same video I was talking about a minute ago where the teacher undermines parental rights, telling them to have sex whenever they want to. The conservative version of their Edgenuity Health that I found in Tift County referred students to Planned Parenthood. So that's something that would be a problematic issue for many people with, you know, religious values in regard to sanctity of life, of course. So all of these things are just there for you. Does it promote peer-to-peer sex education, train children about others? All these call to action assignments and standing up for other kids absolutely has a feel for teaching other peers. So I don't have an exact work for you on that one, but I'm sure we could find it if we dove deeper. Again, I think I've explained this to you really well in the Castle series. Folks, if you've not listened to those Castle series, that you need to listen to it to understand how really important it is to understand number 14 about undermining the family values. All of this information, you can find lawsuits. The Loudoun County, Virginia lawsuit's a good one that shows how this has been done as well. You can find several lawsuits out there, and I've got all of those documented in the other ones. All right, now, this particular video here on sexual trauma and safety, I want you to, I've got a special notes section that I've really got to get to really fast. there are comments made in several of these videos about they'll do a little brief hit. Now, not that we mean that you should keep secrets from your parents, but, and then they tell you how to keep a secret from their parents. That's on that particular video. Here's a lot of information to help you understand how your parental rights could be impacted and what you can do to protect them and find out what's going on. Again, this one, this is how they have referred students to pretty much health clinics in the area. Again, if you'll notice, here's one of the homosexual scenarios. Ethan is concerned because his boyfriend has tested positive for an STI. You know, that's just normative in a lot of these. Now, anti-racism, they literally sent kids to Harvard to do an implicit bias test. And gave all kind of, you're giving all kind of data to Harvard and no telling what that's revealing about your family. So that's another click there. Special notes. You will find that these last 3 pages have information that I just need to really talk to you about really just, this was very interesting to me. And I didn't know that until this week. Edgenuity before was named E2020. What's special about 2020, y'all? They changed the name of E2020 in 2013 to Edgenuity. So it was E2020 in 2013, changed the name to Edgenuity. When I was going toe-to-toe with Tift County in 2020 about these lessons and what was in them, Weld North was in the process of purchasing, or no, Edgenuity was in the process of purchasing Purpose Prep. So I was getting nowhere with the school. So I was starting to call the vendor to see if I could just buy my own access to the program, see how much it would cost. They wouldn't give me access, but I just started asking this guy questions like I was a teacher interested in teaching it. And I mean, because that's pretty much what you have to do in order to get the information about these things. And when I did that, they gave me an email listing all of this information that they were about to teach. Because remember, I told you that the curriculum director in Tift County said, we're going to use this to teach sex ed. So I'm like, what lessons are you using to teach sex ed? Buddy, they listed out all of their sex education material for me. And this was all I found that had to do with sex education. And so it's about sexual abuse. They had, and the thing is, this is the teacher that taught pretty much all of it. So we're looking at, I just find it very interesting that in 2020, they drop all of this in there. And what all happened in 2020? How long was this digital takeover of the schools planned? Folks, call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but this is pretty solid proof that, you know, this has been in the works for quite some time. Now, let me point one more thing out. The name Edgenuity comes from, of course, combining education with ingenuity. So what is the definition of ingenuity? A skill or cleverness in devising or combining, inventiveness, cleverness, or aptness of design or contrivance. You know, there is there's an article that the one CEO, her first name was Sari, I forget her last name, where she has this article, and I've got the link in the notes by her name at the top of this document, where she pretty much comes on and does an interview saying that a little edgenuity goes a long way. They absolutely have their heart and mind. They had this plan for quite some time. Believe me, tons of money in it. We've seen it. One of the competitors for another learning platform is called Clever. So you've got all of those little names all combined in it. Folks, this is the new frontier. Our school curriculum needs to be secured. We need legislation developed to secure it. It needs to be static. It doesn't need to be fluid or dynamic. These are terms they use in the digital world for updatable, real time, all of that kind of stuff. That is access to the hearts and minds, values, behaviors, and beliefs of children. Their most inmost secrets of their home and family, everything they are accessing through programs like this. So look at all of this, look through it, understand that, like this gentleman too, that they've used as a teacher, his LinkedIn, I think I shared with you last time what he said. I mean, I love what I do. Add the intersectionality of being openly gay and feminine while sitting in my Black manhood. Sugar honey, I think we have a phenomenon. Is that a teacher that you want teaching your child, especially without your consent? That's where this is taking us, folks. You can see it's right there. And I mean, he's highly credentialed in his education. So that overwrites sacred values and beliefs of Christian families and other sects of society and religious beliefs. Again, it's the same gentleman. I've shown you all of this before. And one other thing, the same lady I was speaking of a moment ago, the vice chair of the committee for Imagine Learning, her first name's sorry, I forget her last name. Anyway, she had in her article where they were talking about that Edgenuity is geared to deliver lessons to alternative programs and to make up credit recovery. So when you think about the students that are in alternative programs, you're talking about your problem children, and you're finding out all of this personal information, all of their adverse childhood experiences. What could be done with that data globally? What could you cultivate in a child like that globally with that kind of data? Folks, look at this. In Georgia, the Juvenile Justice Department, the Department of Juvenile Justice here, they're even using it to the tune of $152,000 last year. Well, it was in 2022. So they're teaching it in the jail. Y'all, this needs to be looked into. I mean, I'm not making any major accusations here, but just think, like I said, if something can be done globally for the good through digital networking, it can also be done globally for nefarious reasons. So let's look into it together. Let's get this information out. Y'all dig into it with me, because more minds are better than one. All right, let's go.
Marcia, before we take questions, I just want to recap for everyone the action steps. I know in Ohio, we've done a bit of an audit of information that we've received through anonymous tipsters. And we do have Edgenuity in Ohio. Specifically, we have heard from Xenia has it. We have Clever. So what you're saying to us is, if we have Edgenuity, imagination learning, anything called purpose prep or Clever, we should first of all download this template that you've given us here from your website. Also, one could review this recording again. Then what are the next steps for people that want to fight this in their school districts that have Edgenuity or these other names of these curriculums?
Well, if you come across to a school board member, your particular school board member that you voted for with concern, say, just don't even reveal to him what you're doing yet. Just say, I need an appointment with you. Take your laptop, make sure you have internet access, show it to him. And just say, when you signed off to approve this program, or your board did, was it given to you the very same day that you had to sign off on it, like an omnibus? I mean, ask them the questions. You pretty much have to start the conversation with them. Or if you feel like, I mean, what I do is I go straight to the school superintendent. Make these face-to-face appointments. And folks, when you go home, write them a thank you email and recap every pertinent piece of information you discussed and build your public record. We can't play with these people anymore. And they're trained to tell you whatever they need to tell you to protect their school, not the kids. we're off the rails with that.
Well, Marcia, we appreciate you doing all the hard work to expose this for us. And if we do have this in our state or in our community, it's going to take people, taxpayers, parents to get involved and start to have those difficult conversations and really
Absolutely.
expose it with this work that you've already done. We have questions here. The question is the basic problem the Federal Department of Education? Is it the state? Where exactly is this coming in? Or is it coming in multiple places?
Multiple places, but what really happened with the pandemic was they flat out took that money afterward in 2021. That's when the flood came in, and that's when they made billions of dollars. So it's coming in mainly, it came through that, but now that money's drying up, from my understanding. Okay. So now what we're looking at is the money's already there. I don't know how much longer they have to spend it, because I think they had to do it incrementally somewhat, and it depends on how your states did it. But I think you've got to just get with your school superintendent and ask them those questions. Actually, I would ask them by email. I'd say, I want you to answer the following questions for me. It's coming in from all kind of different areas, but your school board members need to feel this heat. Most states have local control. Is Ohio a local control state?
Yes.
They need to use it. They need to be taught how to use it. So,
And you also mentioned that we need to be asking about, are the counselors American School Counselor Association members? So when we do our public records, that would also be another question we should ask.
Yes, that right there, I can't tell you how important that one is. And also, if you just go to your district website and look up who all's in, teaching, or who all is a counselor, go try to look them up on LinkedIn, go look them up on Twitter. Just see what you can find, especially in the summer months. See if they went to that ASCA conference, because they flat use the hashtags. So there's all kind of ways that you can look them up. So that's what I do.
Okay, and the question is, do you have access passwords, or should we be asking school districts for the passwords?
Make them give you those passwords. Bug them till they do. That's a good test of how transparent they are or not. And don't get discouraged if you can't get them. Make it part of the story. Build a group page about your school district. I have one for Tift County, Concerned Parents of Tift County. I have all kind of stuff on there. I have a picture of their counselors standing in front of a poster, you can't make this up, that says, what's said in here stays in here unless someone's going to get hurt. It doesn't say anything about parents. So, I mean, this is where we are with counselors. So yeah, look them up.
Marcia, do you have a template letter that could be sent to school boards? Like kind of an
open record? Yeah, come back up here to this particular, okay, childparentrights.org. Go right there to their resource tab. Folks, they've got the parental notification letter. They have open record request examples. Noelle helps format these things. She's awesome. Also, we have they have all kind of different things that you can download. You've been talking up a lot about their church transgender guide, and they also have a school resource guide that you can download. And I highly recommend that you give those resources to your superintendents and to your pastors, because this is coming against churches, it's coming against camps, it's coming against schools, any kind of organization that has kids.
Okay. Feelings of being overwhelmed, and how do we get the community to work on this? Would it work to list all the SEL program curriculum and ask them which they might have in their schools? What are your thoughts about that, Marcia? Should they go at this by asking what SEL curriculum is being used?
Yeah, well, you can do there's a few ways of going through, because remember, we've talked about how some SEL is delivered as a standalone product and some is delivered as an integrated mass throughout the day, where they're using the ELA program and getting them to read about things that would have diversity, and marginalized people groups as a lot of the subject matter. So, working those Castle 5 competencies. So it is overwhelming, and that's what they intend it to be. And I guess pretty much, guys, when I look at it overall and parents say, well, Marcia, is it safe for kids in the American school system anymore? What do you think my answer is? No, it's not. It's not safe there anymore. It just flat out isn't. And I mean, if you can't look at this and see that, I mean, yes, it's overwhelming. And what can we do about it? Keep plugging and talk with your churches and see if they'll open the doors and start doing some schooling for kids in the churches and the homes and everything else until this can get under control. I mean, did you see Miguel Cordona's video yesterday on Twitter about the transgenders? I mean, they're cultivating them in the schools, y'all. So go on his Twitter and look. Um, it's unbelievable. So I mean, I don't mean to leave you guys without hope. No, there's hope. There's a lot of hope for your kids. They're worth fighting for. Show this video to your parents in your school zones and in your area, and tell them it's time to pull them out. It just is. If you can do that, now if you're a single parent, you can't do it. There's other alternatives. You can go to a company called Public School Exit. Alex Newman runs that company. It's a great company. They have all kind of ideas to help you. And hopefully these pastors will get on board and start looking at ways to help open up the doors and help get some of these kids educated. Folks, this is where we are. And some people are going to say, Marcia, you're a nutcase. Start digging. I've been digging in this stuff for years. And I mean, before the pandemic, I could see the writing on the wall. So not trying to just, I mean, I'm not discouraging anyone. The proof is discouraging everyone. And we don't want to believe that this is happening right now in America, but it is. It's here.
Marcia, they always talk about the LGBT and the diverse groups. What about the handicapped, which this poster here is saying is the largest group to be concerned about? What are
Yeah,
your thoughts there?
I've had in the past people from state school boards talk to me about, Marcia, they're targeting some of our handicapped kids. I'm like, yeah, especially if they're spectrum kids, that'll be a target. If you have a spectrum kid, get them out. Get them out. You'll hear the same thing from our friends at Child Parent Rights Campaign. I mean, we don't try to tell people what to do. I know what I'd do if it were my kid and my grandkids. They're out now. The American school system right now, especially under this administration, I mean, go look at the Twitter account of Miguel Cardona. And that should tell you enough. You really want to put the heart and soul and mind of your children in the hands of these people? I mean, I know you think you've got these local people and their teachers might not be teaching this, but those computers are teaching it somehow, and those counselors are getting those interventions into them somehow. That's what all that multi-tiered system of supports and all that stuff is about. So some of the things that I did with some school districts in South Georgia, once I showed it to their administration, I said, look, maybe you can qualify for your funds, but unplug the data. And I know some of them did that for a while. I don't know if they were able to keep it unplugged. But I tell you one thing, if there's a superintendent, associate superintendent, or any kind of administrators right now that are good people that love God, they must be dying inside if they're doing this just to keep a job. I could not do that. So, I mean, I quit my job over this because I couldn't do what I knew needed to be done. So, folks, it comes to a place where you have to stand for what is right. It is right to protect children. Full stop.
Well, everyone, we want to just encourage you to share this video. This will be downloaded and it'll be on the parentsonthelevel.com website. It'll also be on the Protect Ohio Children YouTube channel. The PDF will be there. Marcia's showing you on the screen. What we did for second step is that the PDF can be downloaded. You can print that off and use it as you're fighting this in your local districts, and the recording will be there too to refer back to. Please share it with others and get the word out that this curriculum, and I see someone's asking the last question here. Okay, yeah, got it. Miguel Cordona was the name of the Department of Education leader that you want to go to his
Secretary.
Twitter. And look at that, and if that doesn't show you, you'll see that our government's working against the kids. And so thank
They're
you so
against the
much,
family, they're
everyone.
anti-God, everything. Yep.
Thank you, Marcia, so much. And thank you
I'm
for
so sorry I couldn't
everything.
bring a brighter thing, but there is one thing I'd like to just leave everybody with. There's no wisdom, insight, or plan that will succeed against the Lord. Folks, it is time to stand on the principles of your belief system. Guard your worldview, guard your children. Y'all don't get overly discouraged. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Trust the Lord, and we'll move forward with this, guys, okay? And we will see you next month with Newzella. It's important. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.